welcome back to A Game of Fangs and Thorns. My name's Hannah. I write books and occasionally I read them too. My novels are all available on Amazon, the links will be down below. But my first two are A Little Piece of Magic from Witches and Wolves, which is the first two books in my witchy, werewolf, paranormal, romance adventure little quartet. Yes, I am planning a quartet. And the other book, as I'm filming this, is available for pre-order, which is Rise of the Riders, which is book 1 in my Dragon and Griffin Rider series. But today we are going to talk about the books I read in April. Again, I'm not rating books this year, just purely because I am just concentrating on enjoying them, reading down the massive TBR. We have two shelves here, which are TBR books, and then we have the stack of sequels just over my right shoulder, and then you are sitting on my TBR card. So we are going for quality over quantity, and we're not really rating, we're just vibing. So let's just start, and as always, I have my little book stamper. So if I enjoy a book enough to keep it, we will stamp. So starting off with The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is book 2 in the Poppy War trilogy. I do have the Poppy War here because we are going to stamp. I absolutely adore this series. It's very dark, very gripping, full of trigger warnings. Where can let's stamp this on the dedication again. So, if you weren't aware, the Poppy War follows Rin in an Asian-inspired world, I think. She aced the Keiju, which is a test to find the most talented students in this empire, which is the Nakara Empire. Then she got into Signgard, which is even more impressive because Signgard is the most elite military school. And so while Rin is trying to keep up with her classmates, she's also dealing with prejudice, racism, because she has come from a impoverished village in a very rundown sort of area. Oh, that looks so pretty. Gets me every time. But she is dealing with that in the first book, so she's trying to keep up. And then she discovers magic. Now, specifically shamanism, and how that is both revered and reviled in the Empire. And then, obviously, she goes through a lot in both books. This one is absolutely heart-wrenching and brutal. She deals with she's had to make some terrible choices that she's haunted by to save her people, and basically all she wants to do now is take revenge. I'm wondering, now that I had an inkling for this one, but now that I've actually read this one as well, I'm wondering if this is more of a villain origin story than a straight hero story. But I will definitely be finding out because I do want to finish this series, that's why I've stamped them, and I will be rereading these. I just have to get my hands on The Burning God. And I do have Yellowface and Babel by the same author to read as well, but as they are not sequels, we're not concentrating on them right now. But a great start to the month, and I absolutely adore these covers. And they're just so understated, and yet you get such an atmosphere from them. It's probably they're watercolor inspired, but I don't think it's a watercolor painting. There's probably a term for it. But then we have Like a Curse by Elle McNichol, and I think this is my favourite book. Put it on that side so you can see. I think this is my favourite book of the month. It's just... Okay, I'm going to gush about this and Like a Charm, and we are definitely stamping. But in Like a Charm, we follow Ramya, and we are in Edinburgh. Edinburgh is a city filled with magical creatures, and nobody can see them except Ramya, which obviously brings up a lot of concern from her parents. But she's pulled into her family's work of secrets and spells, so she sets out to discover what the heck is actually going on. So this deals with hidden folk, and her grandfather leaves only 3 words of warning: beware the sirens. Plunged into an adventure that will change everything, Ramya is about to learn that there is more to her powers than ever imagined. So that sounds incredible on its own, but what really gets me is the fact that Ramya has dyspraxia. Now, I also have dyspraxia, so you can see why I was intrigued by this one. But the representation of this, it made me so seen. I think I actually cried a few times reading this. Just Ramya's inner monologue for a lot of the story, which is included in Like a Curse as well, just really hit me in the feels, and I felt seen. But let's stop raving and actually tell you what happens and what I liked about it, other than the representation, which is so important. But like we say, Ramya is haunted by these people that only she can see, and in the first few chapters we learn that there is something different about her that isn't necessarily related to her dyspraxia, but is related to her bloodline. She is immune to the sirens. So going through that, she knows her parents have had something's happened to her parents, but she can't find the words. And obviously she is not put down by her parents, but a little bit misunderstood. And I think I can understand that as well, because her parents tell her, nope, you can't do that, nope, you can't do that. My parents never did that. My parents were always, yep, you'll do it this way, but you will do it in your own way and your own time. And I think that's what these books and the kind of Spark series and teach kids is that, yeah, okay, you may be different, you may process the world differently, but there is nothing stopping you. So for that reason, I think I will always pick up an Elle McNichol when I see one. Just there's something heartwarming, especially Ramya. She's clumsy, she is stubborn, but because she is stubborn, she is so nothing gets her down. She just keeps going, and she finds friends who appreciate her for her. And yes, if you have a child who you think maybe on the spectrum of development coordination delay, or just on the autism spectrum, get them to read Elle McNichol. She makes them seen, and obviously representation is important for the people who it is representing, and it opens conversations for those who are not diagnosed, for want of a better word. So you can tell I like these books. And then we have Queen of Myth and Monsters, a total tone change by Scarlett Sinclair. This is the sequel to King of Battle and Blood, which is a Tristan and Isolde story. Nope, it's not. It's Adrian and Isolde. Basically, in this one, we meet Adrian, who is a vampire, and Isolde is promised to marry him, and it's his enemies to lovers, basically. Isolde de Lara considers her wedding day to be her death day. To end a years-long war and protect the people of her kingdom, she is to marry the vampire king Adrian Alexander Vasilev and kill him. But obviously, we know what's going to happen. We get a series out of this. The assassination fails. But it's not just the... And Adrian sort of goes, if you try this again, I'm going to kill you and make you a vampire. So, obviously, that is hanging over her head. And do we have trigger warnings on this one? No, but because it is dark, please be wary going in. I can't remember the exact triggers, but yes, we are stamping. I love a good vampire romance. So yes, so it is dark going in. It's beautifully written. And then in this one, we learn more about Isolde and why things happened the way they did in the first book. And I am very intrigued to see what she comes up with next. In terms of other things by this author... Oh, I've ripped it. Never mind. In terms of other things by this author, I do have A Touch of Darkness and A Touch of Ruin. Did also really enjoy those, but I'm caught up with what I own of that series. So, a little bit darker, definitely a bit more grown up, but not as dark as Poppy War. I would say this is romantasy. A little bit dark romantasy, but worth the read. Then we have another tone change. We have The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is book 2 of the Thursday Murder Club. And obviously, I got this in hardback, so you know I was excited. I also have the next 2 in paperback. But basically, in this series and the Thursday Murder Club, yes, we are stamping. We follow a group of retirees in this kind of posh and affluent retirement village. It's very English, but we follow Elizabeth, Joyce, Abraham and Ron, who are definitely versions of the different old people that you see about. And it's told in alternating perspectives, and we get aspects of Joyce's diary. But basically, these 4 retirees get together to solve cold cases. But then they come across a case that is still live. And it is beautiful. It's more than just a murder mystery. This is cozy. This is definitely cozy. But it is basically a group of 4 friends who are diverting expectations and just having a fun old time. The focus isn't necessarily on the murder itself, but the characters. So we get an introduction to them in here, and they solve a murder case. And then in this one, what does it tell you? Right, so Elizabeth has received a letter from an old colleague, man with whom she has a long history, and we can figure out what that is. So this one is a theft, a mob. So story involves stolen diamonds, a violent mobster, and a very real threat to his life. And then bodies start piling up. So Elizabeth obviously sets up the Thursday Murder Club again. She enlists Joyce, Abraham, and Ron to figure out what exactly is going on, and it was just as charming, just as funny as the first one. It's fine. I found it. But yes, just as funny, just as sweet as the first one, and we learn more about Joyce. Not Joyce. We learn more about Elizabeth in this one. That did not stamp. And we know snippets of what she did before she retired we learn that in the first book, but in this one, because we get more of her perspective, we see more of what's going on, and what she's thinking, what she's feeling. And with this being a blast from the past, we have to find out what is going on. So we are definitely stamping, even though we're only halfway through. These are just so sweet and cute and have a really big readability factor, which is half the reason why I stamp these books. Then we have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Okay, technically the book I read was Good Girl, Bad Blood. And then if you are eagle-eyed, you can see that I have just finished As Good as Dead. But that will be next month's wrap-up. So as much as I love these, I don't know if I'm going to reread them. So I will hold off on stamping them now. But basically, Good Girl's Guide to Murder has inspired a TV show. 5 years ago, Andy Bell was murdered by Sal Singh. Everybody knows he did it, except Pip. And she chooses the case as a topic for her final year project, and sets up a podcast and sets out to prove Sal's innocence. So in this one, Pip is reeling from what happened in the first book. She's trying to get her head together. She's not a detective anymore, and insists that her investigating days are behind her. But a very close friend to her, enlists her help. His brother has gone missing, and Pip obviously wants to help. She feels that she's the only person that can help, and she starts to lose faith in the police. So she picks up her microphone and starts investigating. This time she's investigating in real time, so there is a bit more of a time crunch, a bit more urgency to the case, whereas this one was a cold case and she just digs things up, which leads to the urgency. This one has an urgency straight away, and it is very interesting, and I did really enjoy this. It definitely gets darker as the series goes on, but yes, thoroughly enjoyed, but not stamping because I don't think I'll reread. Nothing against the book, it's just I'm running out of space, which I think is it's a well-known problem for bookworms, isn't it? But then we have Finding Bear by Hannah Gold, the sequel to The Last Bear. And this book made me cry, so obviously we're keeping this one too. They are just so sweet and heart-wrenching in their innocence. But basically, in this one, I can't tell you anything about this because there is a big spoiler on the back. But in The Last Bear, we follow April, who ends up going to an Arctic outpost for 6 months with her father to Bear Island, but there are no polar bears left on Bear Island. However, April finds a bear, this one right here, and she calls him Bear. And what happens is a beautiful story between a girl, just a beautiful story of friendship. And then we go into the environmental issues, but it doesn't feel preachy. And then the inevitable comes, and as an adult reading this, I know what's going to happen, but it still got me. It still got me. So we are a stampy stamp. If I can keep a hold of the thing. Stampy stamp. Here we go. Stampy stamp. So obviously this one didn't hit as hard in the feels, but it still got me. So, and I just love how it was written for the fans, for because the dedication is for to every single person who wanted April and Bear to reunite. This book is for you. And it just, this one put it the right way around. This one introduces the idea of environmentalism and climate change to kids. This one follows up on it and is a little bit more prevalent. The issues are a bit more prevalent, because April herself is very interested in climate change. She wants to save the polar bears. But we see, okay, there's a big spoiler on the cover. You can guess. It is such a beautiful picture, though. But this one, while we learn more about April's environmentalism and her activism for that, we also see how climate change itself is changing the landscape in the Arctic and how people's livelihoods are changing. But we also see the good side of it. We see what is being done to protect certain creatures, and it was just so heartwarming. And seeing Bear again, I'm going to cry again. Let's move on before I cry. Then we have The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. Okay, technically this is the first in the series, but it is the first in the series in the same world as the Shades of Magic series, or I'm calling it the Shades of London series. I don't actually know what the title of the series is, but it is the Darker Shades of Magic trilogy, following Kel, who is a traveller. He can travel between all these different worlds with magic. Some have it, some don't. There's one London that is very reminiscent of our own. So that's where we meet these characters. It is such a beautiful, it's such a well-written, fast-paced story. And Lila. And then we meet up with them again about, I think it's 7 years after the event of the Shades of Magic series. We meet up with these characters again. A new threat is rising, because of course it does. These characters are not safe. And Schwab puts them through everything. So I can't tell you anything because of sequels, because of secrets and spoilers, but I can say that we meet Tess, a young woman with a knack for fixing broken things. She's thrust into the affairs of Antari, which is what Kel is, and kings, traitors and thieves, and only her unique powers can weave the threads of power together. So I think I might be keeping this one. This is the Forbidden Planet edition. So it is the sprayed edges, it's signed, and right at the back there is an extra chapter, like a little short story. I don't know if that's in all of them, but we are stamping. But I am aware that this video is getting a bit longer than I would like for a wrap-up, so I'm going to do this off camera, because I have 4 books to stamp, because I'm keeping all of them, of course I am. And then we have Glint, which is book 2 in the Plated Prisoner series, the first book being Guild by Raven Kennedy. And this is a dark King Midas retelling. In the first one, we meet Oren, who is gold-touched, and right, so it says the myth of King Midas reimagined. This compelling and dark adult fantasy series is as addictive as it is unexpected. With romance, fate, and intrigue, the gilded world of Aria will grip you from the very first page. Be immersed in this journey of greed, love, and finding inner strength. And there is a content warning for explicit romance, mature language, violence, non-consensual sex, and emotional manipulation. And it is the emotional manipulation that is mostly explored in the first book, I would say. We follow Oren, who is gold-touched by King Midas. We're not, at this point in the story, we're not sure what that means, but she is basically his prisoner. She is in a giant birdcage, which is what you see on the front cover, but she actually likes it in there. For reasons that are not known in this book but do become a bit more clear in this one. And we also understand that Midas is not a nice guy. He is cruel and manipulative, and yet because of their shared past, Oren still feels for him. She is a saddle, which is technical term for a whore, basically, and she is the favoured. So basically what that means is that no one can touch her, and apart from the king, and she feels safe with that. But he does still use the other saddles in front of her. Yeah, Oren, you need a reality check, which she does get. She starts to be aware of how she is treated is not fair. Things don't add up. And then in this one, because of how this one ends up, we end up with another perspective, which is Midas's wife. We end up getting her perspective for a couple of chapters, which is very interesting, because we understand how she feels, and if she can get over her prejudice and her hate for Oren, them two would be unstoppable, especially with what happens in this one. And it does have quite a big plot twist cliffhanger ending, which will definitely get me, which definitely has changed where I thought this was going, and I am very, very intrigued to see where the story heads up. But unfortunately, I only have book 1 and book 2 in paperback on this one, so that will have to wait, because I'm doing well with my book buying ban. I think it's the first time I've said it's a book buying ban out loud, but it is. I'm basically not buying anything yet. I want to get as much of the TBR down as possible before I buy anything else, because I'm telling myself I can only buy ebooks, and so I'm not wasting money on ebooks that I'm not going to read. So, because I'm primarily a physical reader, but I think I have rabbited on far too long for a wrap up of a series video of sequels, but there we go. So as always, the links to my young adult, well, I say young adult, but I think magic is probably new adult. It gets graphic. But as always, the links to A Little Piece of Magic from Witches and Wolves will be in the description bar down below, along with the pre-order details for my new book, Rise of the Riders, which releases on the 20th of May. Means so much if you would take a look and a chance on a new debut author, on a new independent indie author. No pressure. If you don't, you don't. But it would mean a lot if you would like to if you could give that book a try. And I will put these away and see you in whatever comes next. Bye.